Hello, good day, everyone. Once again, this is Joe Brand. Welcome back. Welcome to the Free Mind. So, it's been a long time. So, as promised, I'll be discussing to you a lot of learning videos so you can download it and you can share it to others. Okay, so for today's, I'll be explaining to you our lesson number 4 in the subject of Philippine popular culture. So, popular culture, we're going to talk about our current generation, what is happening to our current generation now. And for our lesson 4, is we will be talking about deviation, social problems, and control. Okay, so let's talk about the meaning and nature of deviance. So, what is deviance? So, deviance is unavoidable. So, no matter how deep the our upbringing of one culture, there's always be someone who will go against the expectation of most members of our society. Yes, that is true. That is really true because we are a rational being. We think a lot, and there are people who are going against the expectation of our society. So when we are going to talk about philosophy, philosophy tells us about ignorance. And they are trying to explain to us our irrational soul. That's why there are people who are trying to be deviants. So it's really impossible to eliminate that one. And on the other hand, you talk about sociology. Sociology is very optimistic in declaring that culture is very dynamic and it is always changing. It is always changing. So sociologists view lifestyle, our culture as temporary. It keeps on changing depending on the time and the consequence. So as long as most people continue to cherish the established norms, then it is up to the new generation who will replace them. As certain people fails to comply or to act according to the norms and expectation of others, this is referred to as deviant. So you are trying to go against the norms. You are trying to go against the culture. So deviance simply means a violation of social norms. So in every society, there are rules to be observed, right? Here in the Philippines, we have rules. In your country, in your province, you also have your own rules. So it is natural. So according to Kindle in the year 2012, deviance is any behavior or belief or condition that violates significant norms in a society or group. So sometimes I am also deviant no, as long as I know if I am, as long as for me it's against my rational soul. So sometimes I do that. So deviance may almost have negative connotation. So when you are trying to go against the rules, you are trying to go against the rules. So it has a negative connotation for others. And a lot of people are being annoyed because of your behavior. But in a different light, so for example, I am very artistic. I am very creative. I think outside of the box. So that is the positive connotation of being deviant. So I am not following the norms, but I am trying to be better compared to the things that we are used to. So that is the positive connotation of being deviant. So it is somehow positive. For example, you are creative, you are thinking outside of the box, you are being artistic, maybe described as deviance, but it is in the positive light. It is on the positive connotation. So in order to understand deviance, it is very important for me to study the norms. What is the normal behavior of the people surrounding me, their history, their evolution, and the changes as society shift or evolves. As what you've known that sociologists or sociology, they try to explain that culture is very dynamic, it keeps on changing, and it keeps on evolving as time passes by. So if we really want to understand what is deviance, we should also need to study the norms, the culture, the history, the evolution, and the changes as society. So there are consequences of deviance. So being deviance has a positive and negative connotation, effects on the individual and the society. Some of its positive effects are as follows. Number one, being deviant is it teaches people what acceptable social behavior is. Okay, so It teaches us the positive connotation of being deviant is it teaches me to do what is acceptable in our society. Number two, positive is it strengthen group norms and values. So we follow what is our current culture, what is our values, so we follow that. That is the positive connotation of being deviant. And number three, positive effects is it is a sign and a source of social change. Okay, so deviance has positive and negative effects on individual society, but it also have a positive effect, such as it teaches me to be a better person, it strengthens our group norms and values, and it is a sign and a source of social change. This is why we shouldn't neglect the beauty of being deviant because there is always a positive connotation about it. So some of its negative effects are also the following. Number one negative effect of being deviant, it harms group stability. What does it mean? Maybe because we are so deviant, we are going against the flow, we are going against the culture, maybe it harms group stability. We are so divided, we are not establishing camaraderie, we are doing everything alone, we are not cooperating. So possibly that's one of the negative effect of being deviant. Number two is it induces distrust and ill will. Meaning, if you are being deviant, you are inducing you are not trusting anybody, and you also perform a lot of negative things because you are going against the cultural norms. Number three, negative is it drains human and economic resources. Sometimes if you are too much deviant, if you are going against what are the rules of being observed, so sometimes it drains a lot of people and it annoyed a lot of people. Number four is it weakens people's faith and conformity to social norms. So it weakens people's faith. So people are not trusting you, people are not cooperating. For example, during the time of pandemic, if we are so deviant, a lot of people will suffer. We will go to the hospital if we are not following the rules that are being observed. So that's why during the pandemic, we are really struggling because we are being confined in our houses. No, we are not allowed to go out, but still we do follow because that is good for our own good. Okay, so deviance is relative in nature. So it depends upon the cultural norms. So yeah, when you go abroad, when you go outside of the Philippines, there are a lot of cultural norms there. So they also the culture is very different from us. So being deviant is very relative in nature. It depends upon the cultural norms. So an individual appears deviant because other people see that way, right? So if other people are seeing you that being deviant, it's because it depends on how they interpret your own behavior. Deviance relies on how people interpret social behavior. For example, if I am being deviant, if I go against the cultural norms, I don't follow. For example, there are cultures that is very different from what I used to. So I become very deviant. So I don't follow them. So if I don't follow them, people are going to see or to interpret my behavior as being deviant, not following the rules. So to some people, a behavior is deviant, to others is not. So when you plan to migrate in Canada or somewhere else outside of the Philippines, so it's very difficult, right? Because we have our own culture, we have our own norms. And when you go abroad, it's a different thing. You also have to make some adjustment. And if you think that is not good to you, you sometimes feel that you are being deviant. You are not following the rules or you are not following the culture that they are in. So it's very relative in nature. So it really depends on you. It really depends on how you interpret that. So being deviant, to some people, a behavior is deviant, to others is not. So, judgment as to whether an act is deviant or not depends on various factors like culture, situations, place, time, and the doer of the act. So sometimes being deviant, I am also a little bit deviant now. When I think that the values that they are practicing is not my values that I'm practicing here. So it's for me, it's okay to be sometimes deviant now, as long as you know your own values, you know your own culture, you know how to put yourself in that situation. So some people would say I am deviant, but to some people I am not deviant. So it depends on the cultural norms. So lastly, no act is by nature deviant. Okay, there is no act that is nature deviant. Not all deviants are immoral or wrong. Not all immoral behaviors are deviant. So again, it depends on the cultural norms. If we really want to know the if you are being deviant, is we also need to study the culture, the norms, the a lot of things, the history, the evolution, and the changes of the society. So some of the most familiar theories that explain deviance are the following. So let's try to explain some of the theories that will support the concept about being deviant. Number one concept, theory, I mean, is the structural functional view. So what does it mean? Under this perspective, people deviate from given social norms because of the rapid social changes that are taking place. So, for example, today, this our culture is constantly changing, and our generation before is very different from what we are experiencing now. So that's why people are transforming. People are also changing from the previous norms to the current norms. So thus, the norms of society becomes unclear and but we are catching up. And society could not exist at all. Yes, it is true that without some amount of deviance, society could not evolve. Society will just stay very stagnant. So if there is some amount of deviance, some argument, so society could also exist, could also change, could also evolve. So Durkheim asserted that there is nothing abnormal about deviance. Okay, so there is nothing abnormal about deviance since it is an integral part of the society. So there's nothing wrong when you go against, no, as long as you also need to understand the various differences of culture, the history, the evolution, the changes of the society. So he claimed that there's nothing wrong about being deviance. It is an integral part of the society. So number two theory is the social strain theory. So under this theory is introduced by Robert Merton that each society has a primary set of values and goals with corresponding means of achieving them. So according to Robert Merton, each society, we have our own goals, our own values, and with a corresponding means of achieving them. Yes, in the Philippines, we also have our own values, our own goals, our own, and we also have our ways on how to achieve that goals. So unfortunately, not everyone is able to achieve these goals. Yeah, there are some people who are not able to achieve their goals. So the gap between the desired goals and the means people use in order to achieve them creates what Merton called the social strain. So for example, I have my own goal. So if my goal is to become successful or to achieve my plan, not to become a I have bigger plans. So I have bigger dreams. No, I have a lot of goals. So some people cannot achieve their own goal. So the gap between that, it is called according to Merton, it is called as the social strain theory. Okay, so my goal before is to finish my college degree to get a license, and then I achieve that. But there are some people who are not able to achieve that, and that causes them to experience social strain. So Merton's social strain theory maintains that people react to the gap between the set of values prescribed by society and their own circumstances through innovation, retreatism, rebellion, and ritualism. Okay, so for example, if you cannot achieve your goals, your set of goals, people may also think of something else now on how they can catch up with the gap. So there are people who are trying to do innovation, which is good. There are also people who are trying to just set aside or to become rebellion, and ritualism. So it depends on how we react on that certain gap. So when you talk about innovation, this is a good thing. This is a mode in which an individual acknowledges society's goal, but his or her position within a society hinders him from attaining such goal. Okay, so innovation. So instead, you want to do this, but because of the gaps, it's hard for you to do it now. When you talk about retreatism, this is a mode in which an individual abandons the goal and the means of achieving success in life. So for example, you try to retreat. So because there is a gap and you cannot do anything about it, so you tend to give up and not do anything. Okay, so number three that may affect because of the social strain theory is the rebellion. So what is rebellion? Rebellion is a rejection of both society's goals and the expected means of achieving them. So when you try to rebel, so meaning you try to reject both the society's goal and the expected means of achieving them. So you don't care at all. So that is rebellion. So you try not to do anything about it. And ritualism occurs when people give up on societal goals but continuously adhere to the socially approved means for achieving them. Okay, they give up on societal goals, but they still follow the societal means for achieving them. Okay, so ritualism, this is the opposite of innovation. So again, what is innovation? This is we acknowledge society's goal, but it hinders us from attaining such a goal. So you have a plan of achieving this one, but hindi na lang kaganahan to attain that goal. Okay? So number three theory is the symbolic interaction theory. So what is symbolic interaction theory? Symbolic interaction theory, this paradigm states that deviance is learned through interaction with other deviant people and involves the development of a deviant concept. So when you talk about symbolic interaction theory, it is described as we people will learn being deviant through interaction with other people. Okay, so according to this theory, deviance is a product of specific face-to-face interaction. So if you see a lot of people, if you are making friends with them, conformity is a function of 4 types of social control. So conformity is we are trying to follow. So conformity is a function of 4 types of social control. So how do people conform to society? Number 1 is attachment. What is attachment? A strong social attachments to other people enhance conformity. Yes, as long as if there is a strong social attachment to people, it can enhance conformity. Weak relationship within the family leave people free to engage in deviance. If there is a strong attachment in the family, it enhances conformity. If there is a weak, strong social attachment within the family, it decreases conformity. So number 2 types of self-control is commitment. So the higher one's commitment to legitimate opportunity, the greater the advantage of conformity. So the higher one's commitment to conform, the greater the advantage of conformity. So number 3 types of social control is involvement. So extensive involvement in legitimate activities such as working on a job, going to school, and completing homeworks or hobbies inhibits deviance. So the more you are giving them a lot of activities, a lot of involvement, so it also reduces or inhibits deviance. It limits deviance. For students, no, we need to give a lot of involvement, a lot of commitment, a lot of strong attachment to inhibit deviance. You will also have the belief. So the strong belief in conventional morality and respect for authority figures also control tendencies toward deviance. So if there is a strong belief in and a strong respect for authority figures, it also inhibits deviance. People with weak belief are more vulnerable to whatever temptation deviance presents. Okay? We also have the labeling theory. According to this theory, deviance is a result of being labeled by society. So what does it mean? If you are being labeled as this kind of person, so it also triggers them to be deviant. But if you accept them, if you believe in them, and if you label them as equal to one another, so it inhibits deviance. We also have the conflict theory. I think this is the fourth one, the conflict theory. So according to this theory, social inequality is the root of numerous social problems. Okay, so social inequality is the root of numerous social problems, such as deviance and crime. Okay, so if there is social inequality, it increases people to be deviants. So there are six, I mean, there are six functions of deviance. Number one, deviance promotes social unity. Okay, it less what most people expect. Deviance promotes social unity. If you think of the positive connotation of being deviance. Number two, it affirms cultural values and norms. It clarifies moral boundaries. It encourages social change. Yes, we need to change. We don't have to be stagnant. We need to evolve. We need to change to a better country. It provides jobs for people. Yes. Because the more the more you think a lot, the more you become innovative. There's a lot of things to do. So it provides jobs for all people. You think outside of the box. That's a positive connotation of being deviant. Number six, it provides a safety valve for society. Correct. But what are the dysfunctions of deviance? Too much of deviance also is not good. Number one is deviance is a source of harm, injuries, and death. Okay, so if you are not careful about being deviant, it also produces a lot of injuries, death, and harm. Number two, it endangers social norms. So there are social norms that are good. So if you try to be deviant from time to time, maybe that good social norms might disappear. I wouldn't practice it now. So that what happens now. Number three, it is expensive. Expensive means we are trying to do a lot of things without thinking the consequence of doing that thing. Number four is it creates disorder in a society because we are so divided. We don't know how to listen. We are being deviant. That is too much being deviant. No, you are becoming irrational. The irrational soul. It leads to disorder in the society. There's no teamwork, there's no cooperation, there's no helping in one another. Number five is deviance may lead to another deviant act. Yes, that's why we are also experiencing a lot of conflict, a lot of issues, a lot of confrontation. We're also experiencing that one. Okay. So there is a positive and negative effects of being deviant to individual and the society. So how about social control? We need to control ourselves, no? We are part of this social of this society. We are all part. We are all in this together. So every individual behavior is regulated with certain norms. Yes, I follow the certain norms. I follow rules. I follow what is instructed of me. So I think we need to do that also. That is, the individual cannot just do what he or she wants unless it is in accordance with the given norms and is acceptable to every member of society. For me, that is correct. We also need to do our social control. We just don't do anything just because we want it, just because it is good for us. We also need to consider the feelings of others if it is acceptable to every member of the society. Society pressures the individual to obey and follow the set of values and norms established. Yes, we do follow that to establish order, because if we don't follow, there is a disorder in a society, there is conflict, there is chaos. Our world is very chaotic because of too much deviance. So this phenomenon is called social control. So since we are part of the society, we also need to establish our ability to control ourselves, our social control. So what is social control? Social control simply means the attempt within a society to regulate people's thought and behavior. So the attempt of the society to regulate people's thought and behavior. So they are trying to control us, to set standards, to set behaviors, to set good values and norms for us to follow. Because if we don't have that, again, there is disorder in the society. There are four types of social control. We have the internal social control, meaning it is us. It is us who will control ourselves. This is a process of internalizing the norms and standards of a given society. We are trying to put that into our system. We follow them. It is internal social control. You should have that. It is us that will follow that one. Number two is the external social control is an effort to rectify or reform people who violate norms through a system of reward and punishment. So for example, when you talk about external social control is we do follow rules because if we don't follow the rules given by the society, we will receive a punishment. But if we do follow the rules, there is a reward. So it's a reward and punishment system, the external social control. So number three is the informal social control. This is in an interpersonal action between and among people in response to a good or bad behavior. So informal social control, this is your interpersonal action. So between and among people. So for example, if your behavior is good, so that's how you react to it. That's how you respond to others. If you are doing bad behavior, so it is also your own interpersonal action. So formal social control is a means to ensure observance of laws. So this is to ensure that we are observing the laws using the agents of the government. So formal social control is the observance of the law given by our government. So the following are the types of social control that make individual follow the given social norms. We have the informal social control, meaning it is our self-restraint exercise because of the fear of an individual of what others might think. When you talk about informal social control, it is you who will control your behavior because you are afraid that what others might think about you. That is informal social control. This is you. This is you who will control yourself. This is you who will try to be good, who will try to do good because of the social norms. Okay? We also have number two, the formal social control is when society becomes more complex, formal social control is needed to maintain order among the members. Okay, so if the situation is very chaotic, so formal social control comes in. It is very important to have this control to maintain order among the members. So failure to conform means punishment. The informal social control, it is your own self-control because you are afraid of what others might think about you. The formal social control, it is when society becomes more complicated, the formal social control comes in. It is needed to maintain order among the members. So if you don't follow, you will receive punishment. So formal social control involves an organized system of specialized agencies and standard techniques. So there are two main types of formal social control. This is implemented by the government. Number one is those instituted by agencies or other than state. Number two is those imposed by the political state. So there are some mechanisms used to encourage conformity. Here are some of the different mechanisms to encourage conformity in a society. Number one is pakikisama, building good relationship with others. So the more you build relationship with others, the more they will conform about your own rules, the more they will follow you. Right? That this is building a good social relationship with others. Number two, how do we ensure that to encourage conformity in a society? Number two is the tendency to level an individual who is out of line, the tendency to give equal treatment to everybody. And number three is the indirect method of criticism or gossip. So you are going to talk to them in a private one-on-one discussion. No? If you observe that something is not, that the behavior is not good, so you don't have to public it or to tell everybody what's going on. You just have to talk. The indirect method of criticism or gossip. And there's a lot of things when you talk about conformity. How do we encourage conformity in our society? Is we need to build good relationship. That's one. And number two is we need to include everybody, to be fair on how we treat them. That's why being deviant is not bad at all. Being deviant is you're just trying to be innovative, to think outside of the box. But there are also, if too much deviance also, it's not good, and sometimes also harm other people because of too much deviance. Okay, so I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you're able to appreciate the beauty of this one. But again, if we're going to talk about being deviant, we just also have to know our social control, how to be a good citizen in the country, and that is very important to notice. No, if you are a good citizen. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you again for my next video blog. Thank you and God bless you.